Alina suggested me a story time video, so I set up everything and I decided today I'm going to share my experience of having the first few job interviews in Germany. I think it was 2016, and in Feb I came to Hamburg to meet Alina. We generally used to have these plans like every second month or every third month. Either Alina is coming to India or I'm going to Germany, like, just to stay in touch, because long distance relationships are like generally just horrible. So we were trying to like kind of bridge this gap. So in February I was like, all right, I'm going to go anyways to Germany, to Hamburg, so let me already plan some kind of job interviews for the time when I'm going to start my masters there. So I was about to graduate around June 2016, and ideally my course was supposed to start in October 2016. So I was studying civil engineering back then in Deenbandhu Choturam University of Science and Technology in Haryana. It's a it's a decent university, but in a really small village. So like that was not so nice. It also like kind of kept me away from learning any kind of German from language institute or something. So I had to plan everything on my own. I had to learn German on my own. And when I think back, it was nice that I was like actually able to use the last semester to learn some kind of German. But yeah, it could have been better. Like, for the folks who are living in big cities like Pune, New Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore and so on, like, yes, I think, you should use those opportunities that you have around you to like kind of catch up to German, because as you will see in the story, like, I think German does play a huge role when you're going into these kind of job interviews. So to give you some background about civil engineering, like, in civil engineering, you have a lot of stuff to do with the local building codes, so this means you have to be able to understand the local language. In India, not so much, because the IS codes are generally in English, so you don't have to worry too much. But in Germany, you have to know German. Then when you're going to the construction sites and stuff, most of the other people who generally do not have English proficiency, so like with them again you have to like be able to speak in German and so on. So needless to say, like, German was massively important. Like, German was a language that you needed in order to do well in German. And because it was like around Feb, my German wasn't that great, to say the least. Now, like, I was like still, I think, starting out. I started learning seriously around January or something, and it was like just maybe a month of learning the language. I might be at A2 level, and yeah, I went to the job interviews. So of course, like, with the help of Alina, I wrote all of the cover letters in German, because if you're writing your cover letter in German, at least they know that you're serious about this position, right? So like, you can definitely mention that your German is not that great, you're still at A2 and something, that's completely fine. You can mention it in the cover letter. But like, if you are just like directly sending out cover letters in English, like, let me tell you already that the response rate that you will have for English cover letters is going to be a lot lower than what you will get when you're writing in German, right? So that was the story. So like, I wrote in German and everything, and I applied to, I think, like 40 companies or something. And out of the 40 companies, I got 10 responses. I think 6 of them were these responses that, hey, we are not looking for anybody, because like this was the entire story of like unsolicited applications that I was doing. And also here and there were some kind of vacancies which were showing up on their website. So I was like, it doesn't matter if the company is asking for the job or not, I'm just going to apply and see. The last 4 companies that I got the job interviews from, so I planned it all right, like 1 week I will have 2, another week I will have 2, and done, because I was only in Hamburg for 14 days. So I took the job interviews. The very first job interview I went to, I still remember, man, like, I dressed up like in a suit, and I was like, all right, it's a job interview and stuff. Whereas like generally, like, you don't have to dress up in a suit. Like, if you just go in a normal like formal attire, that's completely fine. So that was a bit too much. But again, like, as somebody who is coming to a different country for the first time, and you don't have resources like we have right now, like, you have all of these YouTube videos where I'm sharing my experiences, so many other people are sharing their experiences. These things help. At that time, there was nothing like that. And at the very first job interview, the first thing that happened was I was not able to find out the entrance. And in Germany, like, there's this stupid system of ringing the bells and things, and like, so somebody left the building, so the gate opened, so I went inside, and then afterwards I directly knocked on the door, and yeah, they invited me, said like, was it easy to find the way and everything. But they never stopped speaking in German. Even they could see like, my German is not that great, but it did not matter, because like their English was not that great. So we sat down on the interview table, and there was this one structural engineer who was like sitting right in front of me, who was like the manager of the company. And then there was another one, a junior one, who was like sitting to the left of him. And then the weirdest thing of my life happened. Like, he handed me out this kind of like page, like page with questions where you have to like, solve different kind of stuff to like give them an answer. And I was like, I am not ready for this for sure. I was like, of course, like reading my like old definitions and stuff, and like trying to figure out like how to solve a few like RCC beam designs and steel sections and stuff. Like all of that was fine, but then it was like something else of like what is the thickness of the bolts that you have to dig inside for a steel column and stuff like that, based on the Eurocodes. So of course I have no idea about Eurocodes. I'm just in Germany, I'm just in Hamburg to kind of like visit Alina, but I decided, hey, let me also figure out some of the job interviews and see like, what kind of things they ask. So I definitely did not prepare for it. And I think it was the most uncomfortable 30 minutes of my life that I've experienced so far. Like, you are there without having a decent German to be able to speak and communicate properly. And other people, they don't have decent English that they're able to communicate with you. And on top of that, you're not able to solve any kind of questions. Imagine you being in your engineering exam, but your professor is actually taking a look at what you're writing all the time. So that is how it was. Anytime I would like pick up the pencil and write something, and oh, when I think about it, like I just like have physical pain from that. Yeah, so like that was the very first job interview I ever had. Like the interview ended, and I already was like, yeah, this is going to be just like, absolute screw up. They did not respond right away. They told me that they're going to respond to me like this evening or something, but they responded to me after 2 weeks. And well, it was understandable with the rejection, of course. So as soon as the interview ended, I met up with Alina in front of the Apple store at Jungfernstieg in Hamburg. And we were just taking a walk. And I was like, Alina, I have no idea like how things are going to go here, because if they ask so many things from somebody who is applying for a part-time job as a Werkstudent while doing his masters as a foreigner, I have no idea how I'm going to find a job at all here. It was a stressful situation because like at that time, like Alina is also like just earning I think 700 euros a month or something. And then when we were planning to move together, we knew that we have to pay the rent of at least like 500 euros a month. And then like for the groceries, we might have just like 150 or something like that. So it was really important that I also find a job so that we both as students are able to sustain ourselves. So another job interview happened. Like at that time, I was already like very disheartened. I was like, I don't think I will be able to like, find a good job here. And every single time I would go to an interview, it is going to be a train of such uncomfortable questions again, especially with the Eurocodes and everything. So the morale was down. Then the second interview happened. In the second interview, like again, like it was bland. Again, they handed out some kind of questions and stuff, and like more technical interview even than the previous one. So it was like, I have no idea now how it is going to work out. Then the third interview happened, and this was also the company where I worked in. And that interview, I think, was the most pleasant so far. Like the CEO of the company comes down, like, invites you up and was like, yeah, and how do you like your stay in Hamburg and things like that. Like the general, like, the short talk you would have with somebody who is coming from a different country. So like it was a very comfortable environment, and they would like talk normally. They would like really just slow down and listen to my German, and that was all very kind of them. And also this was the company which I got the reference from when I was doing my internship in Berlin. So I was having a lot of hopes from this company. And in the starting, like, everything looked great. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be like so nice and stuff like that. But yeah, there's always a but. What happened was like, yes, interview went fine, and like it was a really fancy company at a beautiful location. It's right at Landungsbrücken in Hamburg, and just like beautiful view. And I knew that if I can get to work here, like I would be so happy, just because like the environment is nice and everything. Yeah, interview started. They asked me about the building codes and stuff, like some questions about the Indian standard codes, which were actually very nice, and then also about the British codes and stuff, because there are a lot of similarities in the Indian standard codes and the British codes. So it was all in all a nice experience. I went home and I was like, Alina, I think like I'm definitely going to get this job. The people were really happy with the experience that I've had so far, and also because it was a company which previously worked with the other company where I did my internship in. So like they already have that kind of context that this person is coming from another company with which we have worked previously, and we know what quality of people work there. No? So that was the entire story. Now I'm waiting for the email for them to respond, and I was so overconfident by this interview that I already cancelled the fourth interview that I had. I was like, I don't need to go there. I really like this company. This is at such a great location, and I will have fun every single time I go there from Eimsbüttel, where we used to live, and I was like, oh boy, this is going to be so much fun. But few days passed, no email. And after I think 2 to 3 days, once the interview date was already gone of the fourth interview, then they wrote to me that they wouldn't be able to offer me, any kind of like internship or part-time job because they don't have free spaces right now. And I was like, this doesn't really sound right, because like, why would you invite somebody for an interview if you don't have free spaces anymore? So turns out I asked for maybe more money or something in the interview than like generally students get. Then after a few months, I applied again to the same company and things worked out. Like this just tends to happen. Like sometimes when you get rejection from the same company, and even if you had some kind of like good experience with them or like some decent conversation, the chances are really high that if you apply again, that you get some kind of positive response. I've seen like some other people like, apply 8 times, like year after year, to a company. So definitely do not give up hope if you have any kind of like, rejection or something in the job interview, because it happens. Many a times you don't know what things you should ask for, what things you should say, what the culture of this company is. And these things get even worse when you're going to a different country. You have a different country, you have a different company, you have a different culture, you have a different language. So you have to be like rather prepared for it. Like with the MNCs, of course, like if you're working with Siemens, BMW, Daimler, Continental, and so on, you don't have to worry about these things so much because they're like more accommodating, right? But like with the medium or small enterprises, which essentially make up 99% of the German economy, with them you do have to understand, like, what kind of things you're supposed to say, how do you have to dress up, what kind of salary expectations are good, and so on. So all of these things play a really important role there. Now, for now, I would say one thing, like, all of these things are happening in the world right now, and it's totally understandable. But don't lose hope and don't stop applying. Like there would be some negative experiences here and there, but overall, towards the end, you're going to find a company you will feel comfortable in, even though there you might get some new kind of like surprises again, which I will share in the next video about what my experience was doing my part-time job in this company. Many a times, like, yes, you get rejections from the same company, sometimes even 3 times in a row, because this happened when I was applying for an internship back in Berlin in 2015. And I think I started applying in 2013 or something. I applied 3 times to the company. And then the fourth time they said like, yes, all right, we can accept you and like we have place and stuff like that. But like previous 3 times, it was just like straight rejection. So you have to remember that if the company is not willing to offer you a place right now, it doesn't mean that they are not going to offer you a place in the future either. And keep companies like that in your list, like the list of companies you're passionate about, because no matter what people say, there are a few companies you can always resonate with, you can always see yourself working for. So you should have a list like that and like just keep applying to them, see like what kind of opportunities are available. In my experience, every single time you have a rejection, like if you are in contact with somebody from the company, like you will eventually just find a job there. But again, if you cannot wait for such a long time, then of course try and go for the next best thing. And there's no problem in that, because you always try to make the best of whatever is given to you. So that was my story. A few horrible interviews, a few decent ones, but overall it's all a learning experience. And every single day you are going to be in a foreign country, you're going to just like learn how to behave, learn how to think, learn how to be a better person, learn how to present better, learn how to be more presentable. Like all of those things are just a learning experience. And this is something that I believe I would have like never really focused on in India, because yeah, the competition is really high. There's just like a lot of people like fighting for the same places. Abroad, it's definitely a bit easier, but it's not easy. Like, it's not objectively easy. Like, here also you have your set of struggles, but you just have a better chance on the basis of your merit. If you have any kind of questions whatsoever, leave it in the comments. I have a collaboration coming up with the Goethe Institute, New Delhi, or like the Goethe Institute India, where I will be talking about the basics of the OnLaya. OnLaya is a completely free digital library that Goethe Institute has to offer, where you can like improvise on your German learning, or just like, you know, ramp things up a bit. You can borrow movies for free, you can listen to music for free, you can read ebooks and so on. So all of that, how you have to use it and everything, I will be discussing tomorrow in the webinar. The link for it you can find on my Instagram tomorrow at 14:30 Indian Standard Time. I'll see you there. Nah? All right, bye bye.